Welcome to High Heels in the High Country, and I'm Rob Cope-Williams. For the last 20 or so years, I've been doing stories about people who have been successful in the rural area. This week, we're starting a brand new series focusing on women who are doing exactly that. It's the wives, the mothers and the daughters who are either running farms or their own businesses. They've slipped off their high heels, slipped into some comfortable shoes and doing exceedingly well. But whether it's running a farming operation or just making pickles at the kitchen table, rural women are running the race for the future of farming. And they're winning. But it's not just the farming side of it, they're also running the country. After 9 years as an MP, Honourable Kate Wilkinson is joining the ranks of National MPs, retiring at this year's general election. And like many of her colleagues, Kate isn't heading off to foreign shores on a diplomatic mission. Her mission is much closer to home. Actually, she's going home to the family farm.
I love this place. My great-great-grandfather was here in 1877. So it's fifth generation farm. Nobody else has ever farmed this farm. It's pretty special. Yeah, I love it. Well, it's I was a bit of a tomboy, and I was brought up here, of course, in this field here. We used to call it the motorbike field because that's where we learnt to ride motorbikes, and we took the trucks in the wet weather to learn how to deal with skids. We made land yachts and set them down in the nor'west wind. It's probably one of my favourite fields, but yeah, it's a farm I suppose I've always loved. I came and did the lambing even when I was at sort of university, even doing law. I used to come and do some lambing with Dad, and yeah, I just love it.
So how did you want to turn your back when you were a young woman?
Well, that was quite a few years ago. It was a few decades ago. I'm not going to tell you exactly how many, but in those days, I suppose it wasn't the thing for daughters to come onto farms. I've got two brothers. My little brother was sort of interested, but he's not interested now, so a lot changes. I went to school in Christchurch, and I guess I quite liked the idea of going to university, so I went to university, and you've got to sort of make the most of yourself, don't you? And then I got into law, and you start to get sort of, I don't know, well, not trapped is not quite the right word, but you get certainly involved, and it's making change is sometimes difficult.
And you climbed to the top of law. You were a partner of Harmans. Yeah,
I was there for 26 years, and I was one of the first female partners in Christchurch, actually. I was there for, I think it took me 5 years to be a partner. I used to joke that I had about 10 male partners, and then I have to sort of explain that they were sort of legal partners. I wasn't quite that busy.
Yeah. And then politics. What was the motivation to get into politics?
Yeah, you would wonder, wouldn't you? I think it was, as a lawyer, I didn't quite like some of the laws, and they were just badly drafted, and we had to apply them. But what really got me into politics, to be honest, was the Labour government, and I didn't like them. And Steve Mahari wanted to put a prison in Mandeville, a youth prison,
which is where you lived.
Which is where I lived, yeah. So we got together with the community, and I just loved working with the community, helping the community, and I loved the intrigue of politics and how you can use politics for outcomes, for good outcomes, and we won that battle. And then I thought, oh, this is quite fun, so I threw my hat in the ring.
Kate was selected as Nationals candidate for the Waimakariri electorate, though Labour's Clayton Cosgrove retained the seat in the 2005 general election. She entered Parliament as a list MP. After the 2008 general election, she was again returned as a list MP and was appointed Minister of Labour and Minister for Food Safety in November 2008. In her third straight contest against Cosgrove in the 2011 election, Kate won by 642 votes and became the MP for Waimakariri. She resigned her portfolio as Minister of Labour on the 5th of November 2012. That was following the publication of the Royal Commission of Inquiry's report into the 2010 Pike River mine disaster. It stated that there were major flaws in the Department of Labour. In a statement, Prime Minister John Key said Ms Wilkinson's decision to resign is a personal decision in response to the magnitude of the tragedy. It is the honourable thing to do. In a cabinet reshuffle in January 2013, Kate lost her remaining portfolios. She announced her decision to retire from Parliament in November 2013.
can be brutal. I say the highs are higher than you experience anywhere else, but the lows are certainly lower. I suppose you're always in the public eye. It's pretty unforgiving, but it's certainly unforgettable. I don't regret it. I've done 9 years now. It's a fantastic journey. I just loved it, but I'm ready for the next bucket list and the next journey.
Despite growing up on the farm, Kate was quick to admit that she's a lot to learn and will be relying on the experience of her farm manager to equip her for the challenges ahead.
I didn't study agriculture, so I'm very ignorant of a lot of things. So Mike's been here for 19 years now, so he's our farm manager. So and he knows all the quirks and qualms that Dad used to like as well. So I'm learning a lot. He says it's like teaching a 16-year-old because I suppose I'm sort of just soaking it all up.
Asking lots of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. But I can't quite concentrate fully on this until I finish my other job on the 19th or 20th of September.
You're hands-on. I mean, you're combine harvester driving and working in sheep yards. You're hands-on.
I am, yeah. No, I was driving the header till sort of 10 o'clock at night this season, and I love doing the tractor work. I go out and feed the deer. I do I'm not as strong as the boys are, so I do other things that everything still has to be done. But I've got to learn a bit of fencing. I have to do that, and I've got a lot of skills I have to learn.
You got some plans in your mind that you like to change? Because I mean, every tree on this property has been planted by a family member. Yeah,
it has, and actually Mother Nature took a few down this year as well. So they have to be replanted, and so there's huge scope and opportunity to change things around a bit. It's we'll look at doing perhaps different crops, perhaps a bit more lucerne, who knows, but it's at the end of the day it's a dry farm. I'm not going to do dairying though. I don't like cows. I think they're great for the economy. I don't like cows though, and you've got to deal with animals that you like, and I like sheep.
Because you've got about 3,000 sheep. 3,000
ewes, yeah, and about 350 deer. I'm not so sure about the deer yet because I'm a bit nervous of them, especially the stags. But you go out and feed them barley, and they almost feed out of your hand. They're that tame. So we'll just see how that goes.
So sheep, deer, and cropping.
Yeah, cropping. Yeah, it's mainly wheat and barley. So we do some feed barley, we do some malting barley, we do some milling wheat, some feed wheat, and we do garden peas because we've always had fresh peas for Christmas.
So it looks as though a return to her childhood farm will have a fresh start after all.
A large part of Pip's job is on the road, making personal visits to farm owners, a chance to work through their finances.
So typically we just go through year-to-date information for financial accounts, budgets, what's happening for the season, how it's all going.
Or, like today, just checking in to say good day.
They're not just running the country, they're also out there advising other farmers, men and women, on how to get the best out of their properties. Reporter Emma Cropper went out to find out what an agribusiness manager does at home and at work.
She's a country girl at heart. Pip O'Neill's Otago backyard was larger than most, growing up in a place many could only dream of, a rural playground of 5,500 acres.
Couldn't beat the upbringing that I had. It was pretty cool.
But it was secluded, meaning Pip left home at 12 to attend boarding school, and then, like on many family farms, becoming involved in the running of it was a rite of passage.
So we were just in the background, and then from probably when I went to boarding school, every holidays I was put on the payroll and we were out on the farm working.
Pip, a naturally sporty student, was preparing to study physical education at the University of Otago, but decided against it. Instead, Pip made the move away from friends and family to move to Canterbury, studying a Bachelor of Commerce and Agriculture at Lincoln University.
None of my friends were going to Lincoln, so it was a bit of a big move, but certainly the right move.
Now she works as an agribusiness manager for Westpac. A large part of Pip's job is on the road, making personal visits to farm owners, a chance to work through their finances.
So typically we just go through year-to-date information for financial accounts, budgets, what's happening for the season, how it's all going.
Or, like today, just checking in to say good day.
Talking gossip.
We've got boys here to control.
Yeah.
These visits are more than just a cup of tea and a catch-up. They build the farm owner's trust in their bank manager, who gains a stronger understanding of what their clients need.
No, you've got to have a good relationship with the bank manager. You can't not. Any strong business has to have that. You've got to have a good bank manager, a good lawyer, and a good accountant to keep your business flowing. We do our bit. Our bit's the bit out here, but we don't try to understand and control what they're doing. That's their job, and so we take our advice from them.
It's not all coffee and homemade shortbread though. Dawn Scott lives on a 4th-generation farm. A 27-bedroom home tucked away on 900 hectares of stony flats, down country and rolling hills.
We've got about 1,200 cattle on, and we've got about 3,000 ewes.
And it's important Pip understands the farm firsthand, not just as numbers and words on paper.
It's just to see how much grass there is and what the season's been like and how stock are looking and
if we've got any new crops or any new different feeds that we're trying out, come and have a look at those.
just interested in what's happening.
Pip's background in farming has held her in good stead for working as an agribusiness manager. The knowledge of how farms operate means she understands the real business of farming. Despite what people think, it's not all about the numbers.
It's probably more the farming knowledge that you use rather than sort of your maths and all that kind of thing. So it's more, people come to me and say, I want to buy a farm. And so we go through the, like, how much do you want to spend, is it going to auction? Are we going to just put an offer in? And what are you going to run on the farm? What are your expenses going to be? What's your interest? And work out whether it's viable.
But farming is a changing culture.
Dad generations are sort of retiring and, not retiring, but they're taking a step back, and the next generation coming through, they're far more technology and all that kind of thing. So it's getting really innovative in agriculture.
Farms have become large assets and multi-million-dollar businesses, which means the farmers need to be doing more to keep up.
What the banks want, what we want from our customers is more. So after the global financial crisis, we now want, we want far more budgets, we want far more cash flows, we want up to date, rather than getting financial accounts 6 months after the balance date. We want to see what their position is now, so there's a whole lot more for farmers to do.
Pip's had a lifelong love affair with the farm. She's now living on land with her partner.
We've got 14 hectares here, so it's not very much, but it's a bit of a play for us. So I'd still like to get back to my family farm when I can, but usually I get called down in disasters like snow or wind or something like that to go and help out, but probably not as much as I'd like to. Like, I'd certainly like to be more hands-on. I'm really enjoying being here, and we sort of get to have a few stock around and do that kind of, even just working out what we're going to do with the land and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
The dream to one day own her own slice of heaven on a larger block of land.
I used to draw pictures and leave them all over the house, and sooner or later John thought it was his idea, so I'd get some help. It was actually quite easy.
There's a whole lot of women now going, that's a good idea, I'm going to have a go at that.
It works.
There's more to it than just working around the farm as well. Many women have decided that they are going to have an initiative to make some money to make the farm viable. We went north to Flaxmere and came across a woman who set up her own initiative, basically got a tourist operation going, and it saved the farm. Flaxmere, northwest of the North Canterbury town of Harden, is one of New Zealand's gardens of national significance. Set on 7 acres of terraces along the Waitohi River, the gardens are the creation of Penny Zeno and provide the setting for the annual Art in the Garden Sculpture Festival held in October. But we're getting ahead of the story. 48 years ago when Penny arrived, there wasn't anything even vaguely resembling a garden.
It was so bad, Rob. It was trees to where we're sitting. And it all had to be cleared. It was every bad thing you could dream up, really. Prunus, willows, macrocarpus, pines, ivy, periwinkle, anything else.
So cleared, and how long did it take you to do that?
The actual clearing quite quickly, within a year or two, but the planting in layers against the northwest wind was the absolute top priority, really, because there was nothing between us and the Southern Alps.
So shelter, you're on the fringe, planted quick growing?
Yes, all the quick growing stuff, which of course is what I'm having to take out now. Eucalyptus and poplars, and we have planted a few Oregons, and those are the ones I'm taking out now.
I guess it evolved.
It did, and you have to plant, in Canterbury you have to plant in layers of shelter, so be prepared to take them out. But I didn't think it was going to be me.
Water?
Water, very lucky to have a good water supply, which Mark really revamped for me after John died, and put in the same sort of system as he uses on the farm, and that made a huge difference, because everything before that was half-inch hose, which didn't really work with 7 acres, did it?
I wouldn't have thought so, no. But you do have also still water for pond and reflection.
Yes, and that's been a real joy, really, creating the ponds. I love the bird life it brings and the peace it generates.
It may be peaceful and serene today, but the tranquility of the garden belies the noise and activity that's gone into creating its stunning vistas and shady dells. And before even the first shelter trees were planted, Penny was working on the overall plan for the garden.
I used to draw pictures and leave them all over the house, and sooner or later John thought it was his idea, so I'd get some help. It was actually quite easy.
There's a whole lot of women now going, that's a good idea, I'm going to have a go at that.
It works.
And seriously, the mix, I mean, you've got all sorts of different trees and in different spots.
Yes, I really love, I think the most important thing for gardens in Canterbury is the change of seasons. I love the change of seasons, and we're very lucky, we're very fortunate to have the change of seasons with the autumn colours and the new growth in the spring. I will never be a completely native person for that reason. I had a mother-in-law who lived in the island of Madeira for 40 years, and she missed the change of seasons enormously because everything was evergreen, and that sadly was where New Zealand natives are. So
the word texture comes to mind.
Yes, very much so. Using different sized leaves and different colours. You know, the strong colours should always be close in, and the paler colours in the distance, because that's how you lengthen a perspective. There's all sorts of tricks to it, Rob.
One of those tricks is where to source plants for the garden.
I will only use nurseries that are south of here, nothing from the north, because plants don't move south, they move only north. And I think people should be aware of where they're buying from, because it's quite a big thing, really. North Island plants don't do well at 1,000 feet above sea level in the South Island.
Penny's determination to source local extends to the many other elements of the gardens. The large wooden sleepers were reclaimed when the Waiau branch railway line was closed in 1978. The stone walls that provide both boundaries and windbreaks around the gardens were built by Penny from the river stones that were cleared and piled around Flaxmere during the Depression. Her clever design, resourceful use of materials and success with planting and nurturing the gardens resulted in Flaxmere being selected as a garden of national significance.
It's something that the New Zealand Garden Trust does. It's part of the Royal New Zealand Institute of Horticulture, and they assess gardens to an international level. And it's something that New Zealand tourism endorses, and for good reason, because it means that the standard that you're trying to achieve is on paper before people come, so they know that if you've got so many stars, you're that sort of garden.
Flaxmere's attracted thousands of visitors over the years, including overseas tourists, garden tours, wedding parties and curious locals. Penny initially decided to open the garden up to the public as a way to help out the farm.
That was when subsidies were removed from farming in the mid-1980s, and I think that triggered a tremendous number of rural women into doing different things, and I'm amazed at the creativity of so many women then. We all had a go at doing different things. We started by growing gypsophila out in the paddock, and at one stage a carload of gyp was worth more than the truckload of lambs. Lambs were worth $6 and gyp was $12 in the market for 5 stems.
So you grew the gypsophila?
We did. And then we moved into dried flowers, and that was short-lived because it was quite sort of fashionable for a while, which fashions change, don't they? And then there was country gardens and also my nursery, little plant nursery. I started with growing climbers and old-fashioned roses, and it snowballed.
It's been hard work, hasn't it?
Yes, it's hard work, but it was fun. The roses I really adored, and it's probably helped with the garden as well. But when John died, the ballgame changed and it got too hard, really. Had a partnership, but it didn't work, and you move on.
Moving on is something Penny does in her stride. She continues to develop the garden, even if that means removing the now overgrown pines and eucalyptus trees to allow the next layer of trees and shrubs to expand their branches. She's also keeping an eye on all the latest gardening trends, innovating and experimenting with plants.
Well, in Europe, of course, the European grasses all die down, but in New Zealand we have to use our own New Zealand grasses, which won't die down. So I'm into a different system. I will plant New Zealand grasses with perennials, and then get out the lawnmower at the end of the winter, and the birds will have fed on all this bird seed that's there, with all the plant seed that's there. So it's twofold.
It seems quite aggressive to go in with a lawnmower, Penny.
No, I think it's going to be quite fun.
We'll leave Penny to rev up her mower and prepare for the hours of fun she'll have cutting the grass and perennials in the gardens in Flaxmere. An extraordinary woman and an extraordinary garden. That was High Heels in the High Country for this week. Join us again next week when we'll be highlighting other rural women doing extraordinary things.